Hello, I'm Deborah, and today we're going to talk over everything that I made in April and May. The first thing I made in April was my version of the Pogo Nip sweater. I made it out of the boxwood hoodie pattern from Mood, which is a free pattern, and I did film the whole process, and I'm in the process of editing that video, so you have that to look forward to. I think that this sweater turned out very nicely. I think that the concept was definitely there. I think that I made some mistakes though, mainly in my material choices. I chose to use fabric that isn't apparel fabric, and that really hindered the end result. The sweater is too heavy and kind of uncomfortable because of the fabrics that I used, so I probably won't end up wearing it a lot. Though I did remake this sweater, I really like how it turned out in my second iteration. So I'm calling this one the wearable mock-up. Another thing that I don't like about how this sweater turned out is for the front placket, I used magnetic buttons, and they're made out of metal, and they are very heavy, and so it kind of like drags it down in an uncomfortable way. The concept was definitely there. I definitely made it look like a mixture of the Pogo Nip and the Fougere sweater in one using the boxwood pattern. And so I'm going to call this sweater a win because it definitely helped me conceptualize my idea and I understand a bit more about pattern drafting. I'm really proud about the way that I finished this sweater because none of the seams are exposed except for the shoulder seam. Because I lined the whole sweater, it was possible to make it almost all of the seams were encased. Probably could have done it with the shoulder seams too, and I was able to do that with my next project, but I didn't understand how to do it yet when I was making this sweater. The second project that I completed in April was I made a shacket out of the boxwood hoodie pattern. I talked about in my plans video, I had that white fabric that was kind of like velvety and it had like lines down it. I dyed that light blue and I made a shacket out of it. It was pretty simple to use the boxwood hoodie pattern for that. I just didn't cut the center front on fold. Instead, I added a bit for the button placket. And then I lengthened the sleeves and added cuffs and added some pockets with flaps on the front, and then added buttons and buttonholes down the front as well. Otherwise, I used every piece from the boxwood hoodie. And I think that this jacket turned out pretty well. I didn't like how it looked on myself, as you can see from these try-on photos/videos. So I gave it to my sister and she wears it as her spring jacket. And that was everything I made in April. April was a pretty busy month for me, so I only made those two things. In May, I finished both of my pairs of the Calumet jeans that I talked about in my plans video. I think that they turned out fine. That project I filmed the whole process of, so you will be seeing the making of. I used this brown fabric I got from the thrift store, and when the whole thing was completed, I dyed it green. The problems that I found were when I wear the pants, the zipper is exposed because the fly doesn't quite cover the zipper all the way, even though I folded it over more than the pattern told you to. And for the pocket facing isn't big enough to hide the seam, and so you can just see the serged edge when you're wearing the pants, and I really don't like how that looks. I did learn a lot from this process, mainly that I still entirely hate making pants, and I definitely also despise making the same thing twice. After completing those pants, I went to the thrift store and bought 3 pairs that fit me for $6. I think I'll continue doing that for the time being, though I do have another free pants pattern I want to try. The Wide-Legged Pants by Peppermint Magazine. I think In the Folds does that. I'll link it below. So I might make that eventually, but All the pants I got from the thrift store are a little too big on my waist because I think I'm between sizes right now. I'll probably film a video of me trying to get these pants to fit me at my waist because that's very important to me for comfort's sake. The next thing I finished in May was this top. I used the Forsyth dress pattern from French Navy Patterns, and I used the expansion pack for these lovely sleeves with the cuff. Then instead of adding a skirt, I just added a ruffle to the bottom, which you'll see in the try-on clips. I think that this turned out great. This is a very thin fabric. It hasn't been warm enough yet to wear this out. I think that I would make this again, but I would lengthen it for sure because it's not quite long enough. But I really like how it fits. It's very comfortable. I have a lot of movement. It doesn't feel tight on my shoulders. I love it actually. It's probably the best thing that I made so far in this video, and I will definitely wear it a lot. The next thing that I finished in May is a crochet project. I made the Sophie top by Daisy and Dime on Etsy. I'll link it below. This top is really cute. I used a really thin cotton yarn that I got from the thrift store. It is a Dutch yarn, I believe. I used a bigger hook than recommended so that the fabric would have more drape. I typically like knit better than crochet, but I learned recently that if you use a bigger hook than the yarn wants you to, then you can still get the drapiness of knit in crochet items, which makes me suddenly like extremely obsessed with crochet and I can't stop. For the Sophie top, I almost completed the entire thing, but it was my first crochet project in years, and so I was very uneven. I didn't know how to read the stitches, and so I was almost done and I took apart the whole thing and I started over, and I'm glad that I did because I think it's really cute the way that it turned out. It has not been warm enough to wear this top yet either, so I look forward to when it starts getting hot and I can wear this top around the house. The last thing that I made in May was a denim jacket. I used all of my denim scraps, so it was like a very scrappy project. I used up, I think, pretty well all of my denim scraps, which feels great. And I used the Annie jacket by Mood, which is a denim jacket that has a whole lot of small pattern pieces, so it's perfect for a scrappy project. My denim scraps were all different colors, but when it was done, I dyed the whole thing blue, and I really like how it turned out. My husband was surprised that I made it. He thought that it was store-bought, so that feels good. And that's everything that I made in April and May. I hope that you found this video inspiring or at least interesting, and I'll see you next time. Bye!